Good afternoon, Medina family. This is Superintendent Sable with the Superintendent's Desk. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about technology in our district, the past, the present, as well as the future. The past, as I think many of you know, we did not have a curriculum director administrative position. We did many years ago, but that position was eliminated when the district was in financial hardship. We brought that position back a year ago, and that's when we hired our new Director of Technology, Ryan O'Call. One of the things that I have charged Ryan with is to go through the district and create a long-term strategic plan for technology. When we did our strategic planning process, one piece that really wasn't addressed very well in a strategic plan was technology for educational purposes. And I think a big part of the reason for that is because we didn't have the technology director to be able to step up and ensure that that was part of that strategic planning process. So when Mr. O'Call came on board, I sat down with him and said, we need a long-term plan. So he spent a lot of last year really going into our buildings and inventorying the technology that we currently have in the district, as well as determining how it's being used. He quickly made some adjustments to our technology practices. We had many Apple devices for student use throughout the district. Those are expensive devices. So we began last year eliminating those devices. It saved us quite a bit of money, and it's actually allowed us to buy a lot more Chromebooks for our students' use in the classrooms. The next thing he did is he developed a district committee, and the district committee had teachers covering all grade spans, so elementary through high school. Our curriculum director, Tina Cassidy, participated in that as well. We also had principals that participated in that group. The plan for that committee was to decide what the future of our technology was going to be. It's my feeling that in terms of technology, we have always had a lot of technology available for our students, but I wasn't real confident in the way we were utilizing that technology to improve the academics in the classroom. So this committee really took a look at how that technology is currently being used and how it can be better used to benefit our students down the road. So what that committee came up with is a one-to-one technology initiative. And what it means to be one-to-one technology is that we have a technology device, whether it's a Chromebook, a laptop, a tablet, for every one of our students. So the goal for the future is to have Chromebooks. We currently have many Chromebooks throughout the district. We even have some buildings that already have enough to be one-to-one, but we're not utilizing them in a one-to-one capacity. For instance, we have Chromebook labs that contain 30 Chromebooks. They might be in a classroom. Maybe that class has 24 students, so all those Chromebooks aren't regularly being used. So we can spread those out, better utilize them by actually issuing them to students, and then students will get more access to the technology than they do with the devices being on the carts. So the committee put together a 3-year plan. The first year of the plan is to go one-to-one at the high school. That means the high school would, every student at the high school at the beginning of next school year would be issued a Chromebook. That Chromebook would be issued to them the same way that a textbook is, and they'd utilize it the same way as well. They'd carry it with them to their classes. They would be able to take it home for study purposes or to write papers. They turn it in at the end of the year. We're looking at offering an insurance policy for those. Somewhere around $25 to $30 a parent could pay, and that would allow, if the screen broke or something happened to it, they could take the device in and we would repair it one time for free. We have reached out to several other districts that have already implemented this. We're actually going to be the last high school to implement one-to-one in Medina County. And breakage really hasn't been a big issue at the other buildings. And I think part of it is when we're issuing those devices to students, they take more ownership of them because it's their device to use throughout the entire school year. Part of that implementation at the high school is going to include training for our staff. If we're giving students devices to use, we want to make sure that they're being integrated within the instruction. That's vitally important. All too often, you see that education is falling a little bit behind the times. Well, I'm sure it doesn't take much convincing to all of you how important your own personal technology is or your technology is at work in order to be able to do your jobs. We should have the same situation for our students in preparing them for their futures. Year 2 of the rollout would be at both of our middle schools. At the middle schools, we would go one-to-one as well. However, the students wouldn't be taking the devices home. They would have the devices at school to take to all their classes, and they would use them in school. We would make devices available to go home on a sign-out basis if a teacher thought it was necessary for an assignment, a project, or something else that the students are on. The third year will be done at our elementary buildings. At the lower grade levels, we're looking at tablets. At the upper elementary levels, we're looking at Chromebooks. What we would do is we'd have class sets at those levels. They wouldn't leave the classroom, they wouldn't go home, but every student would have a device to use within their classroom. The great thing about this plan is it is an increased cost to the district, but it's a minimal increased cost to the district. And the reason why is because of what I had explained earlier. We currently have many devices in the district, and too many of them aren't being regularly used. So the way we're able to do this without spending a lot of money is just redistributing all these devices and just issuing them directly to students instead of them sitting on carts and only being used a few times a week. I think it's really going to benefit our kids. The other piece to this whole process is that we needed to upgrade our infrastructure with our internet in order to make this possible. And the reason why, even though we won't have a lot more devices in the district, we're going to have a lot more devices that are on the internet throughout the course of the day, since students will be issued them. So this summer, we're going through an infrastructure upgrade. It's something that we needed to do anyways, and we were really kind of forced into a position where we needed to do it this year. And the reason why is because we receive E-rate funding through the federal government. That E-rate funding is something that all school districts get. The amount of money you get for that is based off of what the state or the federal government determines to be your district's wealth, and also your student enrollment. Those funds were created by the big tobacco lawsuits that the government shifted to schools for technology purposes. This is the last year we can receive the money from that program. So the infrastructure update is being covered half by that E-rate funding. So it's a $600,000 project that's going to cost us $300,000. We didn't want to lose that extra $300,000. We made the decision to move forward this year, and it ended up working out perfectly and aligning with our potential one-to-one program. At our upcoming regular May board meeting, I intend to present to our Board of Education our plan for moving forward with one-to-one, and we will be looking for their approval. Parents, students, you all will be receiving more detailed information once the board approves that item, and as we get into the end and the beginning of next school year. If you have any questions about your child's technology, what we're doing with technology in the district, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of our buildings, and they'll tell you the many great things we're doing. One last thing for this week, as we are winding down the school year, there's all kinds of activities going on, whether it's musical concerts, promotion celebrations, we've got graduation coming up, we've got musicals, we've got the bike to school. I encourage you to get out and see your kids. I know I'm trying to get around as much as I can to the buildings. It's a very rewarding time of year for me as an educator, seeing the fruit of our labor and all the great things our kids have done over the course of the year. And it truly makes me proud to be a Bee. Thank you and have a good weekend.